to make decisions rooted in reality and not wishful thinking. And I've got many examples in my book, From Ideas to Impact, and I have a Substack which people can subscribe to my newsletter. I publish other examples and stories, but really piloting and testing is so important rather than making these sweeping generalizations, and digesting and actually reading the results of that, understanding your audience.
We read and reviewed your book at Storyboard 18, and I remember a lot of good points it made. Chiefly that when you negotiate, not everyone's going to walk away with 100% result. So someone's going to reach 60%, another person's going to reach 40%, and you have to get up and move on. You wear two hats at Global Citizen, right? You are the CEO, you head all the marketing initiatives. And every marketer today needs to think like a CEO, and every CEO needs to think like a marketer. So before you decide, what you're going to roll out, would you rather read a book by a CEO or a book by a practicing marketer?
So I thought about this a lot. I would say without question, a book by a marketer. Now, I don't think that's the same for everyone. I think it depends on what you're trying to do. In our mission at Global Citizen, we're trying to build the largest action-taking platform and social movement to end extreme poverty. And for really in our mission is about changing hearts and minds. It's about reaching people, engaging people, and understanding that whilst I might care about international development, while I might obsess about this, not everyone is every day of the week, but that doesn't mean they don't have an interest. It just means that no one is one-dimensional. We each have all of these interests. We each have all of these aspects going on in our life. And so with Global Citizen, I see it as our mission is to hook people, get their interest, so that we can get them on this funnel of engagement, so that we can get more depth. It might start with someone first coming across a piece of content. Maybe they want to come and see Coldplay perform. And so they take action on our platform. And for anyone who knows Global Citizen, our model is you download our app, you take action, you can learn about issues, you can take quizzes, and then you can earn points. But here's the thing, is you take more in-depth action, right? Maybe you volunteer in person, you can earn even more points to go in the draw to earn tickets and other awards to our events. And so for us, storytelling is key. Storytelling is how you hook people. And I challenge all of our team. I say it's not just the marketing team's responsibility. Everyone here, we have close to 100 full-time staff. Everyone in our organization is communicators in some ways. They're ambassadors for our mission. And if you can't readily explain our mission to your parents or your brother or your sister or your neighbor next door, if you can't leave a conversation in which they're inspired, that you've convinced the person sitting next to you on the plane or in the bus to download the Global Citizen app, then you need to read up on our mission and you need to figure out how to tell stories, because ultimately that's what good advocates are. And one of my favorite proverbs is, no one can do everything, but everyone can do something. And something we can all do is be good storytellers if we take the time to really digest and understand the issues and understand how to tell good stories.
And while we are on storytelling, and I think we are almost close to our last question here, on an average today, a newspaper gives us more information than a 17th century individual was exposed to in their entire lifetime. So there is so much to absorb. And at the same time, a certain amount of clarity is needed when you're about to tell that story. And gaining this clarity comes from, collecting a lot of information. And there are so many modes, podcasts and YouTube channels, and so many that are available to us today. And yet, neuroscience screams at us that reading is still the primary mode of absorption, of deeper absorption, of cognitive clarity. So, any parting thoughts for us on this, Michael?
Yeah, I loved that statistic you mentioned about what's contained in a newspaper compared to what someone a few hundred years ago would have absorbed in their lifetime. It's similar to the fact that up until fairly recently in the grand scheme of human history, most people didn't travel beyond the neighboring town, a couple of miles away. So we are digesting more than ever before. And I think our way to deal with that is often to simplify, look for summaries. And in that, technology can be important, and you can use, our phones, you can use artificial intelligence, I think, to read more productively if you're using it in the right way. If when I read concepts these days, the thing I love about AI now is, there used to be words or phrases, or things which I wouldn't necessarily understand, I would grapple with, and now I can challenge myself. But don't use AI and technology just to summarize. There is no shortcut to learning because, as you said, the data is clear. Not only does it have cognitive impacts, not only does it have impacts on our ability to think critically, which is necessary for a great, healthy social fabric and a thriving democracy, but I think it also leads to things like anxiety, apathy, distress, depression. But also, I think it rips out the joy. And we must remember that there is a certain amount of joy when you're reading and when you get into that world of escapism, right? When you pick up a book, you are transporting yourself out of this world into another world. And there's a magic, and I have to imagine a certain level of dopamine or certain level of happiness that comes from that can't easily be replicated. And I remember the joy, and we've spoken about this before. I remember when the Harry Potter books used to come out. I still remember reading the first Harry Potter. It took me until the third chapter and being transported into the world. I was around the same time, first year of high school, very shy, got bullied at school. This gave me a way of escapism. And I remember when the books would come out, lining up outside the store,